What if the itch wasn't just an itch? What if it was organized, coordinated? Not just bad luck, but a plan. We already know lice live closer to us than almost any other creature on Earth. They ride our routines, hide in our habits, and turn a simple head of hair into their entire world. But now, imagine they were as smart as us, not just acting on instinct, using strategy. Suddenly, your scalp isn't just biology anymore. It becomes a city under new management. They wouldn't start by causing a panic. That's bad for business. They'd start with maps. Smart lice would chart your head like city planners. They'd identify the warm, valuable real estate behind your ears, the safe transportation lanes at the nape of your neck, and the wind corridors where your hair is loose. They'd even map the dry, undesirable deserts at the crown of your head on cold days. They'd learn your schedule, the spike in temperature when you exercise, the humid, tropical steam of your daily shower. They'd know the exact minute you fall asleep. Feeding would stop being a random act. It would become a timetable, carefully managed to avoid detection. Next, communication would evolve. Right now, lice signal each other with basic chemicals and touch. But with intelligence, the hair shaft itself becomes a fiber optic network. Tiny vibrations like Morse code could travel down a single strand. Complex scent markers mixed with your own skin oils would carry sophisticated messages. Safe, danger, wait, move. A simple braid becomes a multi-lane highway. A bun becomes a central roundabout. In minutes, an entire colony could shift from hiding to harvesting without a single louse being seen. Then comes infrastructure. Smart lice would be micro-engineers. They'd glue together tiny bits of lint and shed skin to create bridges between neighboring hairs, connecting high-traffic zones. They'd reinforce safe houses at the base of thick strands where light and combs can't reach. And their eggs? They wouldn't be laid randomly. They'd be installed like apartments in a high-rise, close enough to the warmth of your scalp, far enough from the dangerous currents of shampoo, and angled just right to evade the teeth of a comb. A well-established colony would look like nothing at all, and that's the entire point. They'd manage their resources brilliantly. Lice don't hoard food, they'd schedule it. Short, staggered feeding windows would minimize irritation and reduce the risk of you scratching. They'd implement shift work to keep the colony fed, efficient, and quiet. If you get sick and run a fever, the colony would go into a low-power mode, taking just enough to survive without provoking a defensive scratch. For them, hunger is a mistake, and mistakes invite war. They plan to avoid both. Getting from one head to another would become an art form. Head-to-head contact, hugs, selfies, leaning in to share a secret, is still the gold standard. But smart lice would learn our extended network. Hats and hoodies would become public ferries. The back of the sofa would be a way station. A pair of shared headphones? A commuter rail? They might even learn to ride static electricity, clinging to the seams of a jacket, waiting patiently at a headrest like a traveler at a bus stop. They'd learn our routines, laundry days, hair washing nights, and time their migrations to happen just before the storm. Of course, we humans would fight back. Medicated treatments, heat caps, fine-toothed metal combs, and marathon laundry sessions. The colony would study each tactic. A new chemical shampoo? A scout would taste it, retreat, and send out a signal. Slow burn. Avoid. Quarantine zones would isolate any exposed members, and grooming crews would meticulously strip the residue before it could spread. A blast of heat? They'd just move deeper into the skin shadow zones, then re-emerge once things cooled down. The metal comb? They'd simply alter their egg placement by a few millimeters, change the angle of the glue, and stick to the hairs behind the ears where the comb often misses. We escalate. They iterate. Their biggest advantage isn't strength, it's their incredibly fast life cycle. And with intelligence comes culture. School season would trigger surge protocols. They'd plan more transport attempts during sports days or school plays, and then lay low during school holidays when families are more likely to notice something is wrong. Is there a new baby in the house? The colony would adapt to the erratic sleep schedule, splitting into micro-crews that feed during a quiet cartoon session instead of risking it at midnight. Did the teenager in the house start a new hair care routine? The colony would log the product's scent, observe whether it irritates the skin, and assign it a risk score before anyone else makes a move. The smartest colonies wouldn't just get bigger, they'd get harder to notice. Their ultimate weapon would be our own psychology. Let's be honest, nobody likes to talk about having lice. There's a shame around it that keeps it a secret, and those secrets keep the pathways open for them. Smart colonies would exploit that. They would keep the symptoms low, spread slowly and discreetly across a group of friends, and let our social stigma do the rest of the work. You're not going to warn your friend if you think it's somehow your fault. That silence is worth more to them than any single strand of hair. So let me ask you this, midway through, would you rather admit a problem early and coordinate a plan with everyone you've been close to? Or would you keep it quiet and let an invisible city dictate your life for weeks on end? When we finally do declare all-out war, they'd pivot from survival to governance. The colony would establish clean and dirty zones. The dirty teams would handle the high-risk areas, pillows, collars, hat brims, and would never be allowed back into the core of the colony without going through a decontamination process. The clean teams would stay on the safest circuits of the scalp, period. A single breach of protocol would trigger a full lockdown. Egg-laying would pause, transport would cease, and the entire city would go dark until the chemical signatures in the air returned to baseline. They would accept temporary hunger to preserve their home. Their innovations would fit their scale. They don't need weapons, they need patience and placement. They might evolve to pigment their eggs to perfectly match different hair colors. They'd learn to move in the turbulence of a comb stroke, using the vibration to hide their passage. During a crackdown, they'd bias the colony towards producing smaller, harder-to-see individuals that require less food. This isn't supernatural. It's all strategy. So, what's our best counteroffensive? It doesn't look like brute force. It looks like intelligent design. It means shared calendars for treatment, across families, sports teams, and entire classrooms. It means applying real heat correctly, not just guessing. It means using high-quality combs slowly, methodically, with conditioner to separate every strand and reveal every hidden egg. It means sealing textiles in bags and cycling them out, not just piling them up. And, most importantly, it means honest messaging that kills the stigma faster than any shampoo can kill a louse. You simply can't outmuscle a problem you refuse to name. Smart lice would read that shift in our behavior immediately. They'd test us with decoys, creating one itchy spot to see if you panic comb for 5 minutes and then give up. They'd seed a few visible nits in an obvious place, so you find them, feel relieved, and miss the deeper, more important nests. The counter to their counter-strategy is boring, but it's unbeatable. Routine. Not rage, not shame, just a calm, repeatable schedule that you keep better than they do. Across a city, trends would emerge. The communities that talk would beat the ones that hide. The schools that coordinate would beat the schools that blame. The households that treat it like a chore, calmly, methodically, and without drama, win quietly and never have to post about it online. The households that melt down lose time, sleep, and money. In the end, the war isn't us versus them. It's discipline versus denial. The long-term victory belongs to whoever can learn and adapt the fastest. They have an edge. Short life cycles mean quick evolution. Their cultural memory is written in the placement of their eggs and the formula of their glue. But we have networks. We can turn one family's successful playbook into a strategy for a whole neighborhood, a whole city, in a single day, if we're willing to use it. The smallest, most efficient government on Earth, running on nothing but hair and habit, doesn't stand a chance against a population that refuses to give it cover. So, what would the world really look like if lice had human intelligence? Less of a horror movie than you'd think, and a lot more of a quiet negotiation. They'd push for secrecy, for shame, for our delay. We'd push for sunlight, for schedules, for cooperation. Victory wouldn't be some dramatic, final wipeout. It would be a week of boring, coordinated effort that starves a tiny, invisible city you never even saw. Here's the final thought. At this scale, power isn't about strength. It's about timing. If lice ever learned to think like us, they wouldn't try to conquer the world. They'd just occupy it, quietly, until the day we finally decide to be louder than our embarrassment and smarter than our itch. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this thought experiment, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the weird and wonderful what-ifs of our world. See you next time.